choice. We have to pass it on, otherwise we're losing.
Right.
So,
I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to increase the water rates for the people of Coquitlam Township by 8 cents
and I'll second it,
per
Per-
CCF.
which equals 780 gallons.
Yep.
Class,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
Petrol.
Yes.
So the other thing is the Bay County Water is still looking at putting in new meters, and trust me, that it might take 5 years to put them all in, but eventually, they're all gonna need put in. And they're still asking the question if we're interested when they do decide to go to a meter company and say they need X amount of meters for Bay County, whether we're interested. So I would like to make a motion to state that we are interested in knowing the cost of the new meters to see if we are going to replace the meters in Coquitlam Township.
Well, actually, I had a chance to talk to Trevor, and in speaking with
I made a
Trevor,
motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll support it.
All right, go ahead. Tell us your story.
well, the story is, we can use money from the water fund that we have setting over there to pay for these meters, because to pay for it any other way, everybody's paying their water bill. It's the cost of doing business. So if we're gonna get on board with having the necessary software to support, because what their problem is, the supporting systems are not going to be in place anymore. But at the same time, the money to actually pay for these meters, because the money in the water and sewer fund can only be used on water and sewer. It can't go anywhere else, and it's, from what I was told, it's supposed to be spent on the system and the current customers. And if that's the truth, which I would believe is the truth, that's what they told me at the Department of Water and Sewer, we would be interested, but I would only be interested if the money to pay for that, because I've spoke with different people in the township, and they said, I pay my water bill, you figure out how you're gonna pay for the meter. And we have excess funds above the 6 months required and the projects that we're working on. So I would suggest to amend that, that if and when we go forward with that, the funds would come from the water and sewer fund.
I have no intentions on amending it. This has nothing to do with us obligating ourselves to Bay County to purchase the meters. They're only asking if we're interested. That's all we're voting on, until they pick out a dollar amount for the meter to come back to us and state that this is what it's gonna cost you. Then we have to make a decision whether we are going to be obligated to purchase meters.
When they were first here with the first meeting that they had here with us, my understanding was that the money was coming out of the water and sewer fund to pay for the meters when and if they do it.
Yes, it
You know,
would be, because
I mean,
that's,
they weren't charging each individual $300-400, whatever it was gonna come out of the water and sewer fund. That was my understanding at our
Yes.
initial meeting that we had.
but that's not their question.
But
We
right-
don't have to make that decision till we know how much it is.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but once before, when I voted in support of something, and it was for the research of it, later it's like, well, you voted yes here, why'd you vote no here? So I'm just making it clear that if we're going to entertain this, hypothetically, where's the money coming from? Because roughly, you're talking a lot of money.
So you didn't read the example I gave you?
You know what? I read your example, and here's my thing. If we're looking at a gain of 15 to 25% on everybody's water bill going up because of the new meter being more accurate, because these little spinner fins are wore down, then we should have to make sure that we absorb that cost out of the funds that are sitting in the Department of Water and Sewer.
Absorb the cost of the meter
Yes.
reading? No way. We have 503 meters right now that the newest one of those 500 meters is less 1999.
Mm-hmm.
So those people have been gaining water for 20 years. And you want us now to absorb that if we gain 10, 15% on their bill, that we're gonna absorb that part of it?
No, what I just said was the cost of the meter
Yes.
between $300 and $500 would be taken from the water and sewer fund.
Yes, and I showed you
And
exactly
we would
how
absorb
do
it. We're not raising the cost to the customer to put that new meter in.
That's right,
We are not.
that's right. I
Just-
showed you that exactly.
I just wanna make sure it's in the record, because
Well, it doesn't need to be in the record. We have a motion on the floor to tell the county that we're interested, so when they go to the water meter company, they know that whether they need 5,000 meters or 10,000 meters, maybe could get a better price if they knew how many they had over a 5-year period. Let's do a roll call vote on that part of it. That's all we're asking for. is if
DeShano.
we're interested.
No. Campbell.
if the language isn't clear, then it's no.
Well, this is the language I have. Motion made by Sam, seconded by Greg to tell Bay County Department of Water and Sewer if we are interested in finding out the cost to replace water meters in the future, I don't know. And that's basically what
We're
it was.
just interested in finding out the cost. That's a perfect motion. So is it yes or no?
I mean, you might think that's kind of a soft question, but it'll cost us $650,000 for those meters.
No, not just to say yes or no that we're interested.
No.
Davidson,
Yes.
Petremo,
Yes.
Plath.
Yes.
All right, the other thing here we have is we have a lady that is interested in renting the hall on Mondays. And what this is in a nutshell is she's been working out of her home, but she wants to, apparently she makes some kind of croissant or roll or something she sells to coffee shops. Well, the only place she can make it is in a commercial kitchen. So she's asking to rent the hall on Mondays to mix up the dough and then freeze it. And she would bring in her own freezer and put it in there. And then on a couple of coffee shops, she would bake those croissants and take them out with her that day. And the health department would come in and review it. And she's looking to rent the hall on Mondays,
I have a couple questions.
one at a time.
So first off, she's bringing in her own freezer. How is that gonna be safeguarded if we have somebody rent the hall and using the kitchen? I mean,
Well, she would have to put a lock on it like the senior citizens do. I've already explained that to her.
And would she have an insurance policy holding us free of liability if it somehow made somebody sick?
Get a little input here on the fire side of that. Listen what this man's got to say.
That kitchen, depending on how she's cooking, suppression systems and and things like that are not present, not active. I don't know if she wants to deep fry things like donuts, then we have no deep fryer, we have no I mean, I'm just saying, there's the issue of she's using, like, our kitchen in a commercial fashion. There are some certain fire codes that may be needed to be discussed.
The health department would be there the first time she does it too, she said.
Okay, well,
They're coming in to make sure that she's doing it to health department standards.
and correct, that's their side of the house, so to speak. We have our side of codes as well. I mean,
It didn't
don't,
sound like she was deep frying, it was something
Okay.
she was baking. But most